The Conjuring, Last Rites, 2025. A jealous demon waits 20 years to claim a child that was pulled from its grasp by the ultimate devil repellent, love. Oh, and the Smurls are there to make it based on a true story.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Our Rating. This is the show where I get together with two of my friends. We take a movie franchise, break it down by movie, give it an overall score, and throw it up on the board. I'm joined, as always, by Brian and Will. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm great, Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, very well. It's been a bit of a busy week, but we've been looking forward to this one, to be perfectly honest. How about you, Will?
Looking forward to this as well. Happy to be here, as always.
Excellent. Now, this is, of course, The Conjuring Last Rites. This is, so far, the last movie in the Conjuring franchise. And without giving away too much right now, do you think they will ever do another Conjuring, or do you think this is actually going to be the last one? Now, I'm not saying, obviously, they can do a future story, but do you think they'd ever go back and really just mine that well for one of their previous cases?
Yes.
Has it been announced? Am I way behind? This movie's only like a month old at the time we're recording this.
As far as I know, it has not been announced. As far as I know, our two Warrens actors, I can't remember their names, have said this is their last stint in The Conjuring. Yeah. But as we know in the movie, they cast younger versions of them, and their daughter and her husband go into the business. So there's plenty of Conjuring possibilities yet to be had.
Yeah.
Not to mention they could just do another spinoff, right? They've proven they can spin the heck out of this thing, and they could do that. So no, I don't think we're going to get another Ed and Lorraine Warren doing anything, but we could get their daughters, their daughter taking over the franchise, and we could get a spinoff. I hope not, though.
I have never seen The Nun or any of the Annabelle movies, so they could very easily make a Nun 2 or an Annabelle 4, I think.
Yeah. Isn't there already a Nun 2? I think there's already a Nun 2.
Oh, is there? Okay, I only have one of them on the DVD I just bought, so okay, fine. Then I'm down 2 movies.
I think it's 3 Annabelles and 2 Nuns, if I'm correct.
Okay, so I own 3 Annabelles. I haven't seen any of them yet, and I own 1 Nun, and I haven't seen it yet. I didn't realize there was a second Nun already. As we mentioned, this one just came out in theaters just over a month ago, September 6th, and at the time of recording, this is October 16th. We all had to rent this one on streaming services. Just really briefly, what do you think about the fact that this is already on a streaming service 1 month after it was in theaters? Is that way too soon? Does that feel okay?
For me, I think that it's more a sign of how the industry functions in this day and age rather than anything. I think there's really smart people with clipboards and pencils, and they figure out where the most revenue is going to come from. So I don't think it's a sign of, is this movie good? It stayed in theaters a bunch, you know? I mean, although K-pop Demon Hunter went into theaters after a streaming release. So I don't know. It's just, I think it's how they make money. So.
Well, so this movie cost about $55 million and raised somewhere in the neighborhood of $474 million. So it's already doing just fine. I believe those numbers are just from in theaters. I didn't look into them too deeply. So it's not like the movie bombed by any stretch of the imagination, but I have to assume, and I'm sorry, we're talking about something outside of this movie, but kind of made me think of it. If they're going to have a movie come out 1 month after the fact that you can watch at home, is that not just hurting the theater industry? Like, is that not just like teaching people, well, just stay at home. You'll be able to watch it soon enough. Why bother going? What do you think, Will?
I think there's a couple of things. It is now October running into Halloween season, so having it available on streaming makes sense to bump those numbers a little bit. And I do think movies in general are not in theaters as long because of stream services and how popular they've become kind of post-COVID. So I think the industry itself has shifted in that direction a little bit, and it's just a matter of, will it stay this way, or will more people continue to go to theaters? I don't know. But I think this is kind of where it's headed for the time being, or foreseeable future.
Fair enough.
And now, I also think that from boomers to millennials, our age group and beyond, is reminiscent of going to a movie theater. And so there will always be like, when a really cool blockbuster comes out, we kind of want to go out and see that in theaters.
Did this one affect your score at all because you had to pay? And this is not just normal renting prices. Like, this is not $5. In Canada, I paid $25 to rent this. Brian, you're saying in the States you paid $20. Did that have any effect on your score, having to drop that much money on this, as opposed to most of the films we do have been out for quite some time? They're generally pretty free or easy to find.
So for me, I think what would happen is, if this movie was incredibly great, it would be negligible impact whatsoever. If it was just a mediocre mid movie, I'd be like, okay. But if I paid as much as I did and this movie was a total failure, I would go scorched earth with my score out of anger. So I think it would only affect an absolute flop, which, spoiler, this movie wasn't a flop for me. We'll get into the deets later, but it didn't affect me, at least this go around.
Fair enough. What about you, Will? Do you share those sentiments?
Yeah, I mean, we chose the movie. We kind of messed up on when it was coming to streaming and should have known that it would have had a rental period. So I'm not bent out of shape by it by any means. I also got to watch it with a group of people, so I mean that kind of minimized the costs. It was fine. It was fine.
Nice. Yeah, I would. Maybe I'm just lying to myself. I would try not to have the fact that I paid money for it impact the score. But at the same time, if I dropped $20 and it was just like the worst thing I'd ever seen, yeah, I think that it would, on some level, impact my ability to score it.
Sure.
Paying $25 for Highlander 3, maybe not so fun.
Pass. As far as the actual movie goes, this is the fourth iteration of the story of the Warrens. This is the one that I don't think it said in this one, like, this is their most terrifying vision yet or whatnot. They did say this is the one that ended their careers.
In the intro, it did say something about it being... It was something like, this was the most terrifying, or so terrifying it ended their careers, or something. There was a little thing about it being,
unlike any other they'd ever seen, or something like that.
Yeah, something. Anyway, there was something in the beginning, and I was like, okay, I know there's some nuance to it, so that they're not actually saying the same thing each time, but it's still the same impression. Like, oh, this one's the worst.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing the write-up in the beginning as the pre-credits were rolling by, and I kind of chuckled to myself, like, oh, this again, okay.
I wanted to actually look. I forgot. This was like me dropping the ball on my research. I wanted to look up every intro to see what the write-up. I wanted to see which ones was the scariest, which one was the most horrific, which one was the most demonic. But I totally forgot. So I have to go back and look that up. But it's just
I'm not gonna lie. I
mentioned
the exact same thing, and maybe I'll get that done in time for the edited version, because I feel like I wasn't paying attention as much in 1 and 2, but I'm pretty sure 3 said it was the most sinister. And then this one is kind of like, oh, this is like one of the evil, like an evil unlike any other that we've ever known, or something like that.
Right.
I'm curious to go back if like the first one is like the most shocking, and the second one is like the most terrifying, and then this one's like the most sinister or something. But they always try and make it be like, oh, this one's the one that's really going to get them. I liked, I guess we're going to skip around a little bit. The beginning started with a younger Ed and Lorraine. And then at the end, it kind of gave us like the synopsis of like them riding off into the sunset, and actually tells us about like when they died, kind of a thing. It does feel like this is the end of their story. And I kind of liked that. That little bookend at the very end, just being like, Ed is suffering from a heart attack. He ends up having a massive stroke and dying at, I believe it was 79. And then Lorraine lived on to her early 90s, I think it was. I like it when real stories do that. And even though it took 4 movies to get to this point, I still did enjoy that little button at the end of it. Did that work for you guys at all? Huge spoilers, I guess, if you don't know.
Huge spoilers.
So
for the 80s.
I appreciated what they tried to do. And I kind of like that, the epilogue kind of thing where they wrap it all up. I usually like that. This one, coming from Lorraine, telling it as a vision that she had, it just felt kind of hokey. And I was like, okay, whatever. I see what you're doing here, and I can appreciate it for what it is, but it didn't really land 100% on that for me.
I don't know. I'm just kind of over Ed and Lorraine in general. There's picture perfect life. They can do no wrong. Just kind of wore on me over 4 movies. of their perfect love can conquer all. It just was too much. So knowing that they died, I guess, is good.
Wow. These are still real people, bud, but okay.
No, I'm talking about this fictionalized, very, very fictionalized characters that were presented in the Conjuring cinematic universe. The real people were swindlers and cheats. I'm okay that they died too.
Speaking of the fictional versus the real, Will, you've been doing your research for us this whole time. How does this movie compare to the reality of the situation?
So, I mean, the Smurls went through, so what happened is they lived in a different area of town. There was a big hurricane, flooded out all these houses. So they had to move into this little shanty house. And from there, they began seeing things and happenings around them. And they went very public with it, trying to get attention. People thought it was a hoax. They're just trying to get money, blah, blah, blah. Come in, Ed and Lorraine, of course, to confirm it. It absolutely is ghosts, and that's about it. The whole rest of everything in this movie is make-believe, except for, Judy did marry a guy named Tony, I guess. So there's that.
Now, two questions, or it's more of a statement and then a question. The fact that these are based off of true events really didn't impact my thoughts on them, other than I was never worried for Ed or Lorraine to die because I knew, they're going to.
Or Judy at this point.
Or Judy. Well, except I didn't know anything about going forward. The only thing I knew was there's 4 movies. So in the past 3, I knew they weren't going to die. In this one, I didn't know if they lived or survived this one, especially considering his heart condition. I'm not saying I thought a ghost was going to take them out, but he could have easily had a heart attack at the end of this movie. As far as my knowledge of the Warrens goes, that could have easily been what took him out. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we discussed in the very first Conjuring film whether or not you guys believed in the supernatural. And I know Run straight up said he did not. Will, you said you did you not?
I said I was open to it. The problem with me is I need some sort of visual or actual confirmation in myself.
Gotta see it to believe it.
Yeah, I'm very much in that kind of vein. So at this point, I'd say, much like Run, the chances of extraterrestrial life is much more a possibility in this world than ghosts and spirits and devils and angels and that kind of thing. Yeah. But I mean, I just like to be open to that kind of stuff because I find it interesting and fun. But until I actually can experience something, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm there. This is real. I could see this happening.
That's why you're so heavily on board with the they were swindlers aspect.
100%.
Any chance that they was.
Let's just put it this way: a comedian bought all the trinkets in their house and is now renting it out as an Airbnb. There's no way those things are not going to just get stolen and lost, and none of it's affecting anybody. Gotcha. This horrible room of spirit-containing objects is doing bupkis because they found them all at garage sales for real cheap.
I think it is funny how in the movie we saw, there was a couple of things back to back where I was like, that's weird, but okay. This is the first time we see the Warrens hosting a party at their house. And Ed is just like, hey guys, come on into my room of dungeon nonsense and let's just take a look around. Don't touch anything though. But he's just taking people around by the dozen, just come on in. I was like, that's not how you handle a room full of demonic presences.
So nonchalant. Yeah, so silly.
So many times in this movie where Ed or Lorraine would do something and I was like, if I was there, I would be shouting bullshit. But in the movie, they portray it as natural and real and honest and all that. And I just kept thinking, in real life, this would be such a crock of it really kind of bugged me. It didn't feel right. And in this movie, they kind of approach that stuff. We had the kids making fun of them. There was that lady at the bridal shop saying, oh, later you can read my fortune or whatever. And they touched on it a bit and it never went anywhere. It was just hey, let's just kind of poke them a little bit. I didn't get what they were doing with that, what that was trying to like bring up as a viewer, what emotions they were trying to get out of me or anything. I was just kind of like, yeah, I kind of been thinking that the whole time. This whole franchise, I kind of been thinking that. So I didn't quite understand that thread that they added. In fact, there were a lot of threads in this film that I felt were quite redundant, useless, just completely unnecessary.
Can we stick to that first one for a second before we
Sure.
move on to the next one, though? Because I do have thoughts about that, and I'm very curious to hear what Will has to say. Obviously, this movie takes place in the mid-'80s because Ghostbusters out, and that's like, what, 84, 85, somewhere in that range?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there is something to be said about the world itself changing, and the more you can see in movies, the way things are depicted, that changing your influence on things? For instance, Ghostbusters comes out and it is a comedy about ghosts. I believe it's the first time that had happened up until then, right? Like every movie you'd seen before then, like Amityville, whatnot, ghosts were serious business. They were scary. They were doing whatever. And then it was this like nonchalant joke. And that's kind of what the kids were treating them as, like, oh yeah, like you're going to deal with Slimer or something like that. I wonder how much in an age before television, not before television, because obviously television is in like the 50s, but like before massive pop culture, fear, religion, ghouls, things like that they just seemed more plausible. And then as we kind of got more into an information age, it just kind of fell away or melted away. I kind of got the impression that's what they were kind of leaning towards. Like, because like nowadays, you're right. Like if Ed and Lorraine even attempted to do what they were doing in 2025, they'd be laughed off the internet.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no chance anybody would listen to them. Well, that's not true.
Actually, they'd probably have a huge following on the internet, but there'd be a huger following making fun of them and making memes of them and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's to showcase a changing of the times. So that probably works then. It just felt bad watching it happen because I'm sitting there trying to get into the mood and they're showcasing what I want to be shouting out, you know? So it was hard to really get into this one because of those sequences.
Well, but didn't like the first one opened up with the opposite, right? Isn't the first movie start off, and apologies, I've only seen it one time, with them teaching at a university, and the university is full of students who are like desperately paying attention.
Yeah,
and they're at like this.
And this was an empty room. It was their university is empty. There was 7 people in this huge auditorium.
Yeah, and most of them walk out.
Yep.
Yes. It kind of just. I think it also is just, plot points as to why they're choosing to shift gears. Right. They're getting older. Ed's got health concerns. It's wreaking havoc on the mind of Lorraine, and it's not as. They don't seem to be as well respected by the community anymore. So it's all reasons for them to wind down and become a scam 1-800 number club. I think that's just one of the many things they put into this movie as to why they're soft retiring from the biz.
So, Brian, you were just mentioning you were having a hard time getting into this one based off of those few early scenes.
Yeah, to step back, take a broad picture of it, the first half of this movie I didn't like. I thought there was a lot of unnecessary stuff in it.
Ed and Lorraine? Unnecessary Ed and Lorraine?
Yes. Like there was just a bunch of extra stuff in here that I didn't need. And it made the movie feel a little bit long. It had a hard time getting going. I think once they got to the house and started investigating, the movie got good for me and I started to enjoy it. The first half of the film was terrible. The intro to the film really bothered me. I really didn't like the intro. The young Ed and Lorraine, I didn't feel that the acting wasn't very good. I didn't like the acting in that first part. And then you go from this ultra scary stuff. Well, first you have Lorraine going, "Don't worry, Ed," and then suddenly, "Ed the baby." I'm like, duh, what'd you think was going to happen? That bothered me. And then we move from this really scary stuff to a stillborn baby. And I'm like, this went from ultra scary to suddenly like the most real bad feeling I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
Luckily, the baby wakes up, miracle. Baby wakes up after a minute out of nowhere.
Power of love.
I probably should have seen that coming. I didn't. I really thought they were going to have a stillborn baby and then later they were going to have Judy. I didn't know. So it was like, I'm super scared and now I feel really bad. And oh, okay, I guess the baby's alive. So all that for was a fake. Like, I don't know. I think that they should have gone, if they were going to introduce the stillborn aspect and that be a horror in itself, I think they should have just owned it. Let that baby be born still. And then later have Judy. And then they have like shell shock from losing their first child. So they're overprotective of Judy, right? Which they were overprotective of Judy, but they just, made it all in one. So it felt like I don't know. I just didn't like the intro. I just didn't like the way they did that opening sequence. It did not work for me at all. Then you move through and you have Judy and her boyfriend and all this romance stuff and him proposing sort of to the parents sort of or whatever. A whole bunch of just sequences that just felt like they were too long and completely unnecessary. And I just wanted to get to a scary story and it took forever for me. So the first half of the movie just didn't do it for me at all. I didn't like it. Once we got into the Smurfs house or whatever they were, the Smurls, I really started liking the film and it really took off and I started enjoying it for what it was. And I thought this one had some good adrenaline scares, not so much the creep fest that we got from the first film, but some good adrenaline scares that were done better than number 3, the previous one, where it had a bunch of adrenaline CGI scares and those didn't land well. These ones with more practical effects did a better job. So that's how I moved through this film. Sorry, that was long.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's fine. No, you're good. You're good. I guess I'll just pass right to Will. Like, do you have similar thoughts? Like, obviously you sound like you're pretty down on this movie based off of
it was too long, absolutely too long again. I felt this movie, unlike the third one, was a little less Hollywoodized, which I appreciated. Kind of felt more like the first two in the style and atmosphere, but we could have cut out an easy half hour, 45 minutes of, oh, I'm going to propose to your daughter. Let's play table tennis for 6 minutes and tour people through your museum house for no reason. There was just so much bloated storytelling to like honor this Warren family that we already have been putting on a pedestal for 3 movies that we just didn't need. And so it really just bogged down the movie, and it was the first half of the movie where the most of that was. But then my other problem, though, unfortunately, is the whole thing is a setup for the Warrens anyway, so the Smurls just are irrelevant. They just happen to be in the house that the demon wanted the frickin' Warrens to come to. Like, it was just so poorly constructed to me that I was like, again, I just kind of fell out of it. Much like the third one, I just kind of fell out of it because I was like, it's just not good storytelling at this point. And I know they're just trying to give a good send-off to the Warrens, but I don't know. I just don't care about the Warrens anymore.
What do you think, Dan? How did it play out for you?
I am apparently the exact opposite.
Really?
I actually, at the very beginning, like when they're the young actors, I completely agree. I was really nervous what we were getting ourselves into. And if you look this up on IMDb, the first two have like a pretty solid score in like the mid 70s. And then the 3 and 4 are both like 63, 62 or 6.3.
Yeah, it dropped off a bit.
So I was pretty nervous about it going into it, especially paying the price. And then that opening scene, I agree. When she's like pregnant and going there, like, I'll be fine. And then instantly like, oh, the baby. I'm like, yeah. That all was really kind of poorly done for me. I didn't really like that opening. It kind of made me nervous. The stillborn scene didn't bother me much, and I did assume that Judy would survive, so I wasn't concerned for her, but it was kind of like, that does happen. Like, there's a lot that can go wrong with childbirth, and sometimes things go right, so whatever. But then, like, the scene of her bringing her boyfriend home and them having a party for him, like, that humanized them in a way. It was a little bit weird with the scene where he's like, come on in and check out my room of horrors. That was odd. And there's something that I'm trying desperately to remember that happens literally right before that between the boyfriend and the girlfriend that I was like, that's a really... Oh, that's what it was. No, so they're sitting there talking to somebody and they're like, what do you do for work? And he's like, I'm between jobs, which is a polite way of being like, I don't have a job. And then she's like, he used to be a police officer.
And then they don't touch it for another hour.
Yeah. Well, if I'm him, I'm pissed. Like, if I clearly didn't say that, I don't want to be saying that to this stranger I've never met before. No, we don't find out till the end of the movie why he left. And I think the reason for leaving is actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
But we don't know that at the time. He might have been fired for all we know. And she's just like, he used to be a cop. I had so much secondhand embarrassment for him at that point.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no. You don't. I'm between jobs. I gave the answer. Shut up. Like, that bothered me that she would just be like, I'm going to do this. Like, oh, and then we had the scene with him, like, showing everybody around. I guess I'm not saying I don't know anything about Ed and Lorraine in real life, but over the course of these movies, I do kind of like them. And so having a bit more time with them, not the demon hunters, just them, kind of did work for me. Finding out what they're like with their daughter, finding out their friends and whatnot. I thought it was I think it was the police officer from the first one that came back and grilling on the barbecue. He's like, oh, I've seen it up close.
I loved him in this one. I loved his character. He was great. I was so happy to see him back. He was his character was so more than it was in the first one. And the way he changed, I really liked him in this. I had a fun time with that character. So I was happy they brought him back. And of course, during the wedding, we had flashes of a lot of the other people from the other movies.
Yes, that's what I wasn't 100% sure on. I was pretty sure that's what we were looking at. And I was like, okay, I don't know that I needed that, but okay, fine, sure.
Yeah.
So I actually enjoyed the dramatic parts of this movie quite a bit. And I actually found the scares in this one, or maybe not the scares, but the creep in this one was significantly higher. Now, admittedly, I said how in the third movie, I had a very loud house. I was watching it in the middle of the day. It was pretty bright. Like, it was really hard for me for external reasons to get into that movie. This one, I was watching it by myself at night, and I was all in. And there was multiple signs where I could just feel my flesh crawling. And it's like, you kind of know what's coming. Like, a lot of the jump scares are relatively predictable, but it still worked for me.
Yeah.
So even though it was like not the most original movie by any stretch of the imagination, I had a fun time with the drama. I thought the actors all did well, and the scares got me. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in a horror movie. So, like, this one kind of worked for me.
And, speaking of it being a horror movie, we had a significant uptick in blood and violence in this one. 3 moved the needle just a bit. This one, we had like the sink overflowing with blood. Yep. We had people getting like murdered in front of us, axes to the neck and blood pouring out all over the floor. And is a lot more violent. And I thought it was just right. That was what was lacking in 1 and 2. 3 was a little bit better. And this one kind of brought enough of the gore that it wasn't a gory movie, but it had sequences of violence that really made you feel danger was in this house. Yeah. I felt like this entity this time was dangerous. Now, I knew Ed and Lorraine weren't going to get hurt. I didn't know if Judy was on the table. I didn't know if Tony was on the table. But I felt like the Smurfs, I'm going to keep screwing up their name, the Smurls, I felt like any of them could go. The girl who vomited up all that glass, oh my God,
yeah, she was fine 2 days later.
Yeah, 2 days later, she's fine. Did you see that? That was like 3 mason jars worth of glass she vomited up into the sink alone. And then 2 days later, she's just like, I feel okay now. Like, whatever.
I think that was the issue for me, though. No, we didn't see a timeline, but it wasn't like a year or anything. Like, that would take time if you're coughing up blood and shit. Like, that was the issue for me, is that there was some good scares. There were some bad scares. The Annabelle doll growing 10,000 times bigger and for no reason, just have an Annabelle cameo again, wrap it all up in a bow, I guess.
What was that?
Just was terrible.
In the first movie, we see the daughter being afraid of Annabelle. It's the same daughter. It makes sense that the fear has grown with her. I'm not defending the Annabelle doll growing, but it makes sense that Annabelle was back in this one because it was her that was afraid of it.
Well, in theory, it's the same demon that's been haunting her whole life, right? Sure, I get it. It makes sense, but the sequence was terrible. It gave whatever the creepy, stupid crickety old man guy. Same vibe, horrible. And then I
thought they did this one better than the Crooked Man, but still not great.
The mirror at the end was just terrible. They're just fighting a mirror and it's spinning around and it looks bad. Like, it was so lackluster, and none of the scares, like the blood coughing up, really didn't have any consequences in the long run. There was zero consequences in this movie. This demon's been waiting 20 years to take back what was rightfully theirs from these horrible Warrens. And it was nothing. One person fell down the stairs a couple of times. Like,
I think he sprained his ankle. Like, come on.
Wait, remember the grandmother-in-law died because the demon pushed her down the stairs, which I'm sorry, did I miss that?
I don't even know if she died. She went to the hospital.
She just disappears.
Oh, I thought they were taking her away in a zipped up bag. I thought she was.
I think she just had a blanket over. I think she was.
Okay. I thought she was dead, and I was like, did I miss? I don't remember seeing her fall down the stairs. Like,
we
maybe
definitely don't see her fall down the stairs either way.
Yeah, they just talk about it. It's so bupkis to me. Like, the whole Smurl family is completely useless in this movie, aside from getting the Warrens there, and the Warrens won't even go until the priest dies, who just offs himself.
The girls carried the mirror all the way down out to the trash. The two guys, the dad and Ed, couldn't even get it down the freaking attic stairs. They dropped it and damn near fell through the attic, and the girls carried it.
The two girls were struggling with it though. It was
right.
never easy
and they
to
said,
carry.
hey, is it just me or is this thing getting heavier? He says, yeah, it's fighting us, whatever. So I get it, but just as a point.
The other reason, though, is because the mirror doesn't care about the Smurls. The whole point is getting the Warrens there. So once the Warrens are there, the mirror's not going anywhere. I mean, it's going all over that attic. It's flying all over the place, but it's not leaving until it gets the job done. I don't know. It's just, to me, they just set up so many decent scares that didn't have any payoff. And then the end just kind of was wank anyway. So to me, it just didn't deliver, especially compared to 1 and 2. It just doesn't deliver.
I can second it did not deliver, but going into those scares, I thought it was going to deliver and they seemed very scary. And then at the end, you're kind of like, oh man, really? Then we get a dream sequence that everybody lives happily ever after. Come on.
I think the mirror being ugly and haunted aside, the spinning mirror, I agree with you. That was awful. Like the whole mirror.
I didn't mind the spinning mirror so much. When it froze at the end, I was like, okay. I mean, I could think of about 100 other things that would be better, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world.
Like, you use the 3 ghosts you have at your disposal to just take people out instead of a spinning mirror. Like, what is happening?
Well, and then like they're pushing the mirror and they're just like, you're not here or something. And then the ghost disappears. And I'm just like,
good Lord.
That might be the worst ending to a horror movie I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like,
that's pretty bad.
I wrote that down.
So I kind of got the symbolism of the 3 of them pushing against the mirror, and you saw their evil mirror images pushing back, and it was like the family of the Warrens fighting against this spirit that had been there since the birth of Judy. So the symbolicness was kind of cool. But no, the whole sequence could have been way more scary with just about anything else. Yeah. Fighting a piece of furniture was pretty stupid. I've seen moving people have a scarier time just hauling my shit around. So this wasn't that bad.
So 2 things with the mirror. One, I was really happy because I thought at the very beginning when she goes to touch the mirror, I could have swore her hand was just going to go right through it. You know what I mean? Like do the the water effect, and I was like,
Matrix
done. And then when she just actually like touches it, I was like, oh, okay, good. Subvert my expectations. I'm okay with that. Didn't love a lot of the mirror in this movie, to be perfectly honest.
You still got a little bit of a jump too, because she touches it and you're like, oh, they didn't do anything. And then it cracks and gets you a little bit of a jump. So they did stuff like that a couple of times in this film where you're expecting it to happen and then it doesn't. And then a few seconds later, something else gets you. I remember there was the little crawling baby singing Mama, 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 the little red doll thing. Yep. And then nothing happens, and then like a little girl comes out, and they made a loud noise when the little girl comes out of the shadows to try and give you a bit of a jump scare. That was a bad one, but they did things like that I can appreciate the attempt. Didn't land all of them.
So as far as the twins or the daughters taking the mirror out to the yard, I liked that. I liked that they're like, this is just ugly. Let's just get it out of our house. Like, I don't even think they knew anything about the demonic possession at that point. I think they were just like, this thing is just ugly. Yeah,
it was just creeping them out.
I would have liked it a lot more if the spoilers end of the movie is going to be the mirror just magically appears in their attic again. I wish we never saw the mirror again. The fact that we saw it getting destroyed And then we see like the puking of blood, and then it just appears again like it fixed itself, but it couldn't fix itself from when Lorraine touched it. I thought that was all incredibly stupid. If it had just disappeared, or they brought it out to the garbage, we never see it again, and then it's back in their attic, I'd be fine with that. The mirror in this whole thing is kind of weird. I don't love that as the
object. They needed an object for Warren to put back to his room.
I know they did, but I still didn't like the mirror itself. Like, it was just kind of whatever. But at least that would have made sense. The fact that it gets destroyed and then it heals itself, but it can't heal itself all the way. I don't know why that was the thing that took me out, but that was just like, that's dumb.
I'm with you. I think they should have crushed the mirror, because when it was getting crushed in the garbage truck, I was like, whoa, this is not what I expected them to do with this kind of a story. And so when it came back, I'm with you, Dan. I'm like, it came back and it's still cracked. What the hell? I wish it just wouldn't have come back, and the entity would have just been released, because when the mirror got crushed, she puked the bloody glass, and it was like, oh, it's pissed, and now it's loose in the house or something, right? It just would have upped the ante.
That is such a good point that I didn't think of until you started talking. That would have proved the fact, like we see Ed Warren has his room of demonic shit, and everybody's like, why don't you just get rid of it? He's like, oh, it's safer to keep it here. And even the guy in the third one, I think it was, has the basement of trinkets for the exact same reason. If they'd broken this mirror and that let the entity free, and that's when, like, she starts puking blood, but like all the really horrific stuff happens, the mirror doesn't come back, it's destroyed, it's gone, and now the vessel is gone and the spirit is free. That would have made so much more sense and explained why Ed has to have this room of horrific things in his house. Oh, I like that so much more than what we got.
Because if you break it, then you really release the
terror, let the genie out of the bottle kind of thing. Yeah.
And he could have actually had his moment of like, this is why I keep things locked up.
3 idiots who talk about old movies could have written a better script. Am I surprised? Not really.
I mean, better for us. Who knows? This movie made $500 million. I don't think they're complaining.
No, they're not complaining. Only I'm complaining.
What did you guys think about creepy long-haired dude with the axe who comes out of the shadow, picks up his axe, starts swinging it at the little girl? Did you guys like that sequence?
It worked as a Jason to give the movie immediacy. Like, so there's a literal threat that's not a mirror chasing you down a hallway. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, sure. I don't really get who he was. Like, he was just some guy who lived there 200 years ago.
Yeah,
and
I never understood
in the area.
Who were the 3 demons? Sure. Like, who were the 3 spirits?
Well, no, so here's how it goes. The demon possesses these ghosts that are in the area. The demon's doing all this, right? So the demon makes them do their bidding to get the Warrens there. That's the whole master plan. And it was this dude and his wife and daughter or mother-in-law or something, and he axed them somewhere in the area, and now these ghosts are kind of wandering around that area for all eternity.
Okay, so we have the dude, like his betrothed that he murdered, and his mother or something, right? Yeah, so we got the scary old lady that was in the dressing room. Mm-hmm. That's where she came from. Creepy. I think the dressing room sequence could have been so much more scary. I just felt like it had, like, I was like, when that door closed and she's silent in a room filled with mirrors, I'm like, ooh, where is this gonna go? And instead, you got this perverted old lady poking her with a needle under her dress, and then she pokes her head out and goes, hey, 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 and like slowly crawls up to her, and that's it. That's all that happens. It was.
I thought that was a brilliant scene in the sense. Sorry, not a brilliant scene. A brilliant room to have horror happen in.
Yes, a brilliant room to have horror happen in that they wasted.
Well, I did like when she bent over and she's like tying her shoelace or whatever. I forget what she's doing, but not all of them bend over. Like one stays like up. 50 back is just standing there, and she's just kind of
I missed that. I didn't see that. That would have been
so that was a subtle little thing where I was like, that's really cool. And then I'm like looking in the background for more of that, and I didn't see any more of that. And then you just have like, the woman under her skirt like tickling her, and I'm just like, all right, I could have gone back for the whole mirror image thing, because like, as a kid, I remember playing, not in a room like that, but like with like 3 mirrors at my grandparents' house, and like seeing that like go off into eternity. I'm like, that's a really cool set piece is the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Itself kind of disappointing, but the set piece was kind of brilliant.
But not entirely original either. It's been done in plenty of movies.
Fair. I don't watch a lot of horror, so I hadn't seen it before. Right. I'm not aware of having seen it before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, for sure. I think that like a lot of the big set piece scares in this kind of seem a little recycled, which is fine as long as you can update them or make them your own, which I did like the mirror image, the evil image, which ties into the mirror of the whole movie of her watching her and then grabbing at her or whatever. I thought that was fun. But yeah, overall, the weird old lady under the skirt, I don't know what that was about, but it was awkward more than scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least it was an old lady, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. So can either of you tell me why Lorraine chose a woman of God who knows that religious text protects and exorcises demons, taught her daughter, Lucy Lockett lost her pocket, to protect her from demons instead of some scripture of some kind? What kind of choice is that?
The only thing I've got on that is Lucy Lockett is easy to remember, and it's less about warding her off from demonic presences than it is about distracting her. That's not a good reason. It's just the only thing I got.
Right.
I think the writers were trying to show, there's a word for it when you show contrasting things. You've got dark demonic stuff and you have a children's nursery rhyme, and they're trying to, do that thing. Didn't make much sense, but it was whatever. I didn't think about that, but you're right. A woman of God should have taught her a psalm or something that she could, I don't know, recite.
Protection ward of some kind. And the other thing I thought was odd was like, oh, I taught your whole life to block it out. Just let it in. And then the very last thing she says is, "You're not there," which is just blocking it out anyway. That was the big hero line. Are you kidding me? Oh my Lord. That was, I think, the worst line in the movie for me. But the best line,
easily,
and I can't even remember when it was said, but it was somewhere early in the movie. The best line to me was, "Babies are perverts, babies are gross." I don't even know who said it. I think it was Judy, but it stuck in my mind. It was so funny. Babies are perverts, babies are gross. Yeah, that was a line in the movie.
Okay, I will take your word on it. I do not remember that, but
so I enjoyed a lot of the scares from the second half on. I enjoyed a lot of the scares. I had to kind of go surface level on a lot of it because if you stop to think about things, not a lot of it made sense. But I kind of enjoyed seeing the Smurfs get pestered by this demon. And then when the Warrens show up, it went to a different level, but at the same time, things made less and less sense and it became a little bit more distracting. But I did enjoy the scares from this film and I felt like I had some fun with it. But yeah, the Smurls, sorry. Overall, this movie, it was adequate is what this movie ended up being for me.
Okay. I got one last question, which is kind of irrelevant before we move into, I'm assuming you guys are good to go into final thoughts.
Sure. Yeah. I'm good whenever.
Both of you kind of mocked the idea of the kid proposing to the parents before proposing to the daughter. Did neither of you do that?
Oh, no. I did that. I don't dismiss asking for permission. I think that's a fine and valid thing to do. I don't think your parents own you and that you need permission from them, but some people traditionally like to do that, and that's fine by me. I just don't think it had a place in this movie. It just bogged it down with unnecessary plot that we didn't need.
It felt like an unfunny segment from a rom-com, is what it felt like.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just you in this movie, but the idea of it, like, I definitely.
Yeah, the idea is fine. So, the idea of it's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But yeah,
I kept thinking the whole time, Ed, I was waiting for Ed to be like, well, are you going to get a job? Because he's in between jobs, right? Like, as a father, you want him to be able to provide for your daughter. 100%. And they never bump into that until later. He's like, so, why'd you quit or whatever? And he tells the story of why he quit, which was a good story, a great reason. It brought depth to the character and everything. But the whole time they're like, Ed's like, no, wait, you've only known her for 6 months and all this. And I'm just like, but he is unemployed. That's the biggest thing that would be bothered. Hold down a job for a few more months and you'll get my blessing is what I would have said.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with that. I'm still got hopefully many years before I have to worry about that from that perspective.
Right.
But from the I guess boyfriend or fiance's perspective, I was like, that checks. I mean, I did that. I didn't do it quite in that way, but so when you
Also,
both kind of like mocked it, I was like, oh, is that not something people do? Because
the only thing I didn't like about it was kind of a dick move. One, to ask permission on his birthday, and two, then propose to the daughter on Ed's birthday. Like getting engaged on the
to
same.
do that.
I understand that, but it's still a dick move from Tony.
I guess. Like as soon as the mom took the ring and put it down open on the table, I was like, you know what's happening there. Like that was projected pretty far.
There's so many projections in this movie that I just can't. And again, maybe that's because I wasn't invested. Like I fell out of it, and it didn't hold my like. All right, what's gonna happen next? I was just like, why is Tony going to get his car? Why can't Ed go? He's got the weak heart. Tony's a strapping young police officer type. He could easily carry that mirror himself. But no, he's got to go ripping down the road trying to get his car into the.
And why was he driving so quickly? The car was like 2 doors down, and he's getting up to like 80.
And why would he swerve into like the house and fence instead of a ghost old lady? Like it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
He just avoided the human figure. That I can kind of get. What I don't understand why you had to like whip around the corner and drive like 90 down the street. I'm just like, what are you doing? I actually rewind it because I thought he turned around twice. And I was like, what is happening?
Are you lost?
He's just doing donuts out there.
Yeah.
He's just having a ball. He's
actually
like,
is in front of the house.
Whoa, this family's amazing. Yow!
Adrenaline will get you every time.
Oh, man.
If you like what we do and you want to support us, head on over to our Patreon. There's a link down below. Huge shout out to our executive producers, Real Bubba Hotep and Dino. Thank you both very much. As well as our head writer, Elder JM990. And for now, we have a director in It's Hughes. Thank you all so much for helping keep the show on the road. We really appreciate you.
All right. So for me, this movie, I thought the acting took a dive with some of the characters that they introduced. I thought most of the Smurls were okay. The child actors in this movie were abysmally bad. They were just horrifically bad. It felt like they were just repeating lines so that they could get a piece of candy being held off screen. Really terrible there. The dialogue was good for a different movie. Not for this movie, because there was too much stuff that we didn't need to hear about or know about, and which goes into some of the plot problems. The first half of the movie was boring, and the second half of the movie didn't make sense. And then I thought that the effects in this one took a bit of a turn for the better because we got less CG stuff and more traditional acting and makeup and things that were really good. The one time that they did do the Annabelle doll growing up real big and everything, they flashed it so fast that I was okay with that sequence. It didn't bother me as much as it bothered Will. So I was kind of happy with that. I just didn't understand why it was Annabelle, and I guess these guys kind of explained it to me, so it kind of makes a little bit more sense. Did I have fun watching this movie the first half? No, the second half I had a blast. I had to accept that this was a lesser tier than I would like it to be. But when I just came to that and relaxed and enjoyed it for what it was, I did like the scares. I did like the people jumping out with axes and people getting murdered and blood getting puked up and all the kinds of spooky things that happened. I had a pretty good time with it. But overall, there were just so many little things that could have been better or completely left out, and not make me drag through so much time on this one, that I'm going to give this a solid 60 points on this one, which is down a few points from The Conjuring 3, which is kind of weird because I think the second half of this movie was better than The Conjuring 3, but the first half of this movie just was a waste of my time pretty much. So that's where I stand on that.
All right. So for me, I'm actually going the opposite direction as Brian is. I think the first Conjuring is probably my favorite. I think this is a pretty close second, though. I have this higher than the second movie. I really liked a lot of what this movie did. Not everything. It is definitely not perfect. We discussed some of the stuff that we didn't really like with the opening scene. The mirror itself was kind of a lame antagonist. And, of course, the way that they defeat the villain was actually laughable. But there was enough other stuff in this movie. There's enough scares. There's enough actual drama. There was enough characters in this that I liked. I don't have the same hate of Ed and Lorraine that the others two do, or at very least that Will does. I don't think of them as real people, which may sound weird because this is all based off a true story, but it is not in my mind. Like the based off a true storyline could just go away and it would actually probably get better because then you could do anything you want with any of these characters. In the first Conjuring, I got lost in the movie. In 2 and 3, something about my brain just realized like, oh yeah, there's 4 of these movies. Of course the main characters are going to survive. Knowing that this was the final one and that Ed has a pretty nasty heart condition did kind of mean that they could go at any time. So like I didn't know if they were going to survive the movie or not, and that really helped me with getting invested in this story a bit more. Showing the next generation coming up, showing her daughter and potential son-in-law, their relationship blossoming. I don't think they're going to take over the family business, and I really hope there's not a Conjuring 5 with them the stars of. But for what we got in this movie, it worked on almost every level for me. I'm giving this an 80. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I thought it was a nice little button to the end of the franchise.
Okay, so it's not a surprise that I wasn't here for it. I didn't love this movie. I pretty much bashed it the entire time. We've been chatting. Now, I do want to clear up. I don't hate Ed and Lorraine in this movie series. I feel like they are better people than the real Ed and Lorraine. But that said, they just got boring because there was no stakes, and they didn't really change ever in the movies. You know, they didn't really have an arc. They were always there. They always saved the day. They always did what they were going to do. But in this franchise, what they did nicely was they made them seem more legitimate and that they were there for the right reasons. And that was nice. They just got boring. And so for that, I lose interest. And so I lost interest in this movie pretty much right out of the gate because it was more of the same. Now, I don't know what else to say, what I haven't said already. I, unlike Dan, feel like they are going to milk this as long as they can if they have a chance because it's still making bank. Why wouldn't they do young Ed and Lorraine? Why wouldn't they do Judy and Tony? Because Judy and Tony did take over the business. They are paranormal investigators. So I don't see any reason why Hollywood wouldn't be greedy enough to take advantage of that. And so what I'm afraid of is having to watch more of these movies in the future. That said, my rating for this is going to be a straight 50 out of 100. It's whatever. If you like the other ones, I guess watch it. It's a closer. At least it's a closer. That's the best I can give it. It's going to be above Mad Max, I think.
And with that, we have a final score of final score of 68. So it falls below Jurassic Park, but one above Evil Dead, which I know for me is a good thing. I definitely like this franchise more than Evil Dead, but I know you guys are both much bigger fans of Evil Dead. Can you live with that, or is that kind of just
Evil Dead is such better writing than these? But I have to say, these films, all 4 of them, had great cinematography and excellent lighting. I very enjoyed the look of these films and the shots and the angles, especially during the more boring parts of the movie where I could step out of it and look at it and observe and watch how it was filmed. Even those shots were really amazingly done. And so I could appreciate the technical aspect there, even over Evil Dead, but the writing of Evil Dead just is so much better than this. I think that's a tough call for me. I don't get to see the poster because my screen's locked up too. But so one over Evil Dead, and then what's above it?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is one over that. So it's 67 Evil Dead, Conjuring 68, Jurassic Park 69.
Okay. It's for me 7th place, right behind Jurassic Park, and then right ahead of Evil Dead.
If you're watching on my stream chat, you can jump over to Dan's. You can see it over there. My screen's locked, so.
Yeah, for me, the difference between Evil Dead is that it's not a true horror franchise, right? Like they almost invented their own franchise of splatstick, which is horror comedy. And so it's hard for me to compare these two franchises. against each other as pure horror. That said, I do prefer Evil Dead, but it makes sense where it landed and why it landed the way it did. But I prefer the flip, but I'm okay with it. Can't win them all.
All right, that's our rating of Conjuring Last Rites, but what's yours? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. We record these episodes live at twitch.tv/The Mongoolie Show every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you can head over there and hit the follow button to follow us and watch us live. Or if you made it this far in the video, you can hit like and subscribe so that we see you in the next one.